Carl Sedlak.
Hey, Carl. Richard Murray here.
Hey, Richard. How you doing? Sorry, I was looking at my computer clock, and my computer clock is still set to San Diego time. Sorry.
Hate that when that happens.
Hey, it is a problem.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to chat with you for a little while just to get your assessment on things and what you perceive to be going on here, and whether you're what the funding status of things is. I know you were involved at one time. I know that there's a Tim decision on not involving you in the process. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I've had some meetings since. There's some legal issues that popped up here yesterday in terms of law enforcement. I chatted with Tim very briefly on the subject of that, but I thought I would touch base with you and see what and get your take on things and get your feel on things.
Okay. First of all, I'm kind of interested in knowing why you went to Jerry when Tim didn't want to even talk to Jerry.
Well, I had about 10 reasons to go to Jerry. I have 2 movie scripts that we're in process on. My wife has music that she has written that we want to get published. There's a whole about 10 different reasons why I went to Jerry. One reason I
heard she's got a great voice.
Well, the songs were the issue, but not the voice. And so I've been meaning to get with him for months, and I finally said I got to quit procrastinating on this. There's enough things going on here that I just became very concerned that this whole thing is falling apart, and if we don't succeed at getting this republic reseated, established, functioning, operational, ready to step up, we better all go find a deep hole with a lot of concrete around us to get into.
Well, the republic, as far as Tim's concerned, is dead. And he's walking on some very, very thin ice right now. And there's not going to be any funding from any sources that I have towards Tim whatsoever. And Tim's making some pretty big claims that he's going to have funding on the 20th. I don't believe he claims he's got military support. I know for a fact he doesn't. All the accounts that he thought he had, he doesn't. I have them. I have shut down all of his funding all the way around him because of his criminal activities, and he would not listen or respond to me. I communicated back and forth with this so-called CIA guy they've got, this Jesus Barreros, and they don't even know about him. And I've run everybody up the flagpole, and none of them have come back down. So as far as the republic is concerned, the republic that's in place now is the republic that's going to stay. The republic involved with Tim Turner, in both names, it makes no difference. Tim's about to go to jail, and everybody involved with him is going to be picked up. So
what is the criminal
dead in the water?
What is the criminal activity from your understanding? What is the criminal activity that he has done from your understanding, Richard?
Well, the criminal activity that I was with this morning with the FBI is he had a well-known money launderer named Tama Puna that was trying to steal money from one of the clients I was trying to assist in moving his bank account. And I tried to warn them. About him, and they wouldn't listen. So now the FBI's got all that paperwork.
Okay, so it was a money laundering issue on that front?
Yeah. It was a conspiracy.
Just so you know, I have had like almost zero insight as to what's been going on the funding side.
I understand through Jerry, you Tim $21,000 to give to Tama, and all you did was extend his vacation with his girlfriend. I got eyes on.
Yeah, not me. I don't know who did that. So not me. So whatever the source of that information, unless they stole it and I don't know about it, I mean, who knows what's possible in our electronic world, but I'm not aware of any funds that I've given to anybody for that purpose.
Mhm. Well, I just
unless you know, I have given some funds to individuals because of personal needs and imminent bankruptcies and other issues. Now, if those individuals were presenting themselves to me under an alias, don't know about that. Yeah. But I haven't given anybody by that name any funds at all. I mean, I'm not even sure I would say I could recognize who Tamahuna is. I've seen a couple of emails about someone that was attempting to do some international stuff for Tim in terms of getting some funds moved. Whether that's the same person or not, I'd have to go back and look at the couple of emails that I've seen float across my computer.
Yeah. Well, Tim claims that the Lee family is supporting him, and I can't see how the Lee family would have anything to do with it because of the danger of the nature of the business. Tim's too hot. He's too hot. He's making too many big claims, and he's got no ass to back them up. He doesn't have any money.
Yeah, that's a true statement.
Yeah, and unless the dinar hits, he's not going to have any funding. And what I want to know is I want to know what deal him and Tom Schultz made when Tom Schultz went and made a deal with the Queen of England, because he met with her. Because it's just all adding up that what Tim is trying to do is to lead everybody to jail. The man makes no sense whatsoever. He's lying through his teeth. And to have all of these people around him advising him, they're all crazy. They're all going to go to jail. They'll never make it to The Hague. If they do, they will not come home.
Well,
and everybody involved in the higher echelons will all be arrested.
Well, then the obvious question comes to be, so what's the plan? I mean, the assumption we always had, those of us that were involved in the process from early on, we assumed that these guys were legitimate. What they were doing was legitimate. The establishment, receiving and restoring of the Republic was legitimate. And that if we didn't do this, when the de facto collapses, which I assume is still a likely scenario, we're going to have serious civil unrest and anarchy in the country.
What makes you think that the de facto is going to collapse when they have the power to posture themselves and prop themselves up? They can just keep printing money until something happens. What makes you think they're going to collapse? And what in God's name makes you think they're going to hand anything over to a janitor? Which Tim Turner's nothing more than a janitor. You don't hand over the keys to IBM to the cleaning crew.
Well, I don't think they'll hand over the keys to anybody. I don't see that scenario happening at all. I mean, it all comes down to what's the military going to do.
Military's not going to go against its own, but they're certainly laughing at the joke of Tim Turner claiming that he has the full support of the military. They think the guy is a loon. He's insane. I think Tim Turner's trying to commit suicide by way of law enforcement.
See, one of the frustrations for me, Richard, honestly, is I get the input from side A, I get the input from side B, totally contradictory. There's no consistency. There's tons of disinformation, misinformation going all over the place. And I'm sitting there saying, I don't know what to believe.
Information is just dead-ass wrong.
Yeah.
Every intelligent source that I communicate with goes, this guy's a joke. He's just wrong. And he keeps, I don't know what they're smoking out there in California, but I tell you what, this is not the Tim Turner I knew. I mean, I met the man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at one point in time, at one point in time, my understanding is you were helping to see if you could get this thing to go successfully.
I was, and they couldn't perform, so they were told to go chase phantoms, and that was one of the richest groups in America. I mean, they gave them everything they could possibly imagine, and they didn't know what to do with it because they sat there with their thumb up their ass, and I'm not going to do their work for them. And the bottom line is, I know exactly what to do. Jerry told them what to do. They didn't pay attention to that. So at that point in time, I just determined that that this whole thing's dead in the water, and any further involvement's going to get everybody hurt. And when the theft started, the attempted theft started to happen to one of the clients, I tried to warn Tim and sent the paperwork off to Jesus. And Jesus, I think, was holding it back from Tim not to let him see it. They're all just a bunch of, it's like 5 Barney Fifes there with only 5 bullets. They're going to take on the world. They're idiots. You can't break the constitutional law. The de jure republic, the one that's in place now, seated peacefully, is the only one that's going to survive. All the rest of these people are all going to jail.
Well, what is the plan for that republic going forward? What do they plan to do? How are they going to get to the end point?
Don't know. There's nothing's going to happen until Tim is completely out of the way and out of the picture. And all of his cronies and all of the idiots that were involved in all that crap are all gone. Got to get rid of the hostile forces. See, what they don't understand, what he doesn't understand is creating a new government. It's going to get him killed. You can't create a new government inside the government. And just because he's tried all this crap, he's been so discredited around the world. I mean, Interpol right now is watching Tama, and we know where Tama is. Every 20 minutes, we know where this guy is. And he's not going to pop his head up again in Hong Kong until he runs out of money. And he's going to scam somebody else for money. The guy's left a whole line of carnage here in the United States where everybody lost a lot of money to this guy. He just cheated them, ripped them off. He's a smooth talker.
What's this guy's name, Richard?
Tama Puna. Tamapuna.
Okay. And he's just a flat-out swindler type person?
Yeah, Tim knew it. I tried to warn him. The NSA even said stay away from this guy. SOCOM said stay away from this guy. Everybody said stay away from this guy. I'm sorry I introduced him to Tim, but he wanted to speak to Mr. Turner, so I let him go. He claimed to be related to the elders. He's not. He told Tim he had all this gold for him. He didn't. Tim just sucked it up and ran with it. I tried to warn him. He wouldn't listen. That is not a leader I want to be involved with. If they don't listen to fair warning and their ego is going to keep driving them forward. He knew all the details. He knows he doesn't have any money. He knows he has no chance whatsoever. The only thing he can do is gather up a bunch of people for the de facto government to put in internment camps.
Well, on that note, so what's relative to the de jure grand juries that were created back in March? Are they viable? Are they legit?
Yep. Anything that is done by the constitutional law and inside the framework of the Constitution and under the common law court, they're approved and okay. The FBI's approved them. Everybody's approved them. And they're inside the republic. You can't form a government outside the republic, and that's what Tim's done. So he's delusional at the least to think that the government is going to be handing stuff over to him. No way. He's not the president of anything. There's nothing there for him. except jail. And like I said, I believe with all these armed goons they have, that the FBI's prepared for it. They know. They've been watching him. Jerry made it real clear. And if there's a single shot fired, they're all going down. Period.
Well, just on a side note,
it'll be under extreme prejudice.
Say again, Richard.
I said they're going to be hunted at extreme prejudice. And everybody in the database.
Well, of course, who knows what's in the database? That's another subject. I mean, the government can.
I know. That's what the FBI is going to go after. Everybody who's involved, and that's why Tim Turner is like threatening everybody. And everybody just needs to get away from him. Let the dust settle.
Well, is the jury is the government going to arrest all the members of the juries?
Nope, they have not broken the law. But the FBI's made it clear they've hacked our site. They've hacked the site a long time ago. They have all the names. They're watching everyone.
Oh yeah, I mean that's given.
When everything originally started, when I first met Mr. Turner, and I didn't seek him out. He sought me out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And he tried to use all my contacts to acquire what he was trying to acquire, and then decided he was going to get rid of me. My contacts didn't quite like that. And they're some of the most powerful people in the world, and I don't go against them, period. End of story. And he did, and that's his problem now.
Okay, what about...
Up against people than the government.
I'm sorry, repeat that again. I interrupted you there, Richard.
He's up against people more powerful than the government. He's done nothing but make stupid mistakes. And his eagerness to circumvent and his to lie to everybody and claim to be a man of God. What a joke. It's a joke. This is not the same man I met.
Well, I would concur there have been radical changes in what I've seen and witnessed in the last few months. When the juries met, they elected governors, they elected court justices, they elected representatives, they elected senators. Is that viable and legal?
Don't know. I don't know about any of that. It's probably unlawful.
So part of the other frustration I have is where do you go to make those determinations? Who makes those determinations? How do you find out,
I don't know. I think you wait until the FBI cleans everybody up and it gets all sorted out in court. Because, I mean, as far as I know, any part of elections are illegal.
Well, and then I go back to the question of, okay, so we have this republic. What are they going to do? Just sit there? Nothing? Are the jury's going to do anything? Are they ever going to be able to do any enforcement, any execution on their orders? Is the de facto just going to be able to continue forever and ever and ever, never to collapse until it collapses under the own weight of its incompetence and its financial burdens and debt, and the dollar collapses and the foreign debt thing collapses and the central banking system collapses? I mean, what's the scenario?
I don't know what's on the boards in Vegas. I mean, what numbers are they given? Because I'm sure this is something they're going to be betting on in Vegas.
God, no clue. No clue.
But
so my assumption
are you funding them or what?
No, I'm not funding this. Yeah, I don't know where
aren't you the building?
Say again.
You're the one that has, right, in Michigan?
Yeah, well, I do, and I was, when I called you a couple of weeks ago, I was going to attempt to get some insight as to what is this guy going to get any money, or should I sell the building? Because I have buyers for the building.
Dude, I'd sell it. I'd tell you now, sell it. Yeah, I would sell it.
Okay. Well, I talked
I
to you.
seriously mean, cut your losses.
Okay. All right. Well,
who knows? We all may need money for lawyers.
Yeah, either that or a grass shack on a beach someplace. Who knows?
Non-extradition country.
Say again.
I said a non-extradition country.
No, I don't think there's any place on. I mean, I don't think you'd be safe anywhere. If regardless. I mean, even a non-extradition
Dominican
country.
Republic, Costa Rica.
Yeah. Okay. So bottom line, from your perspective, this is a joke. This isn't going anywhere. So all that's going to happen is these guys they're haunting this thing are going to end up going to jail. If they
do you really think Tim Turner? Do you really think, in your heart of hearts, do you really think that Tim Turner can do anything that he said he could? All these promises that he's mentioned, do you think for a second he can pull them off?
Two comments. Comment number one is, to date, not one single promise has been come into fruition. We were told back in February, funding was 2 weeks away, a couple of weeks away, back in February. Everything that has been predicted, I won't say prophesied, but proposed it's going to transpire, not one thing has happened. So the credibility is like zero at this point in time. In all seriousness, answering your question of whether he can pull this thing off or not, I honestly don't know. I mean, I accepted the man at face value. I accepted what he told me. When we met with Jerry, with a small group of us back on Mother's Day weekend, I felt these guys could get this thing. Well, two comments. One was, yeah, they might be able to get it done, but as I looked at who was leading this thing, I said, I just don't see that they have the organizational skills, the competency, the expertise to get to the end point. And but I said, I'll throw my hat in and I'll help you because I think it's important to do this. And unfortunately, it's been just a little, just say, disappointing, very disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I look at how many people are in jail using Tim Turner's process. I mean, just the trail of darkness behind this guy is absolutely amazing because so far none of his stuff works. People go to jail and lose their property and everything else, and it's nothing but a nightmare for people out there that believed in him. How many more people are going to suck up this Kool-Aid? They'd be better off just getting stoned and going to a concert.
I won't concur with that. I won't concur with that statement, but yeah, I understand the point.
They'd be better off. I mean, who are these who are these people that are what's called a media team? Who are these people? Do you know them?
Bunch of amateurs, incompetent. I mean,
but do they get up and have a bowl of arrogance for breakfast and drink it down with a glass of stupidity? There's no wisdom in this group. You're the smartest one I've heard so far.
Okay.
And I mean, Jesus, they have no clue what this guy is.
Do you have insight there that you can share? Do you have any insight there that you can share?
Well, my intelligence guys tell me some very horrific things about Jesus. I question his sexuality.
Well, I'll just tell you that from a spiritual perspective, I am not. That's a person to stay far away from.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially when I'm by my guys, they got pictures of him coming out of bathhouses in San Francisco. They got pictures of him with other men. Give me a break. I don't even want to see that, Amy. The guy's a joke. Why would you give the keys to the kingdom to a janitor? What would happen to IBM if the cleaning crew won the executive positions in IBM for a month? The only thing that would happen, hallways would be clean, the toilets would be clean, and the trash cans would be emptied. Really good for a month, because they don't have the mental capacity to go past that. Jesus doesn't have the mental capacity. Thank God that bodily functions are just a natural event, because if he had to think about it, he'd be a mess.
Okay. Well, I probably should have talked to you probably 3 months ago.
Look, after I first met the guy, and I mean, he hung on every word, and he's trying to learn what I know, and that's going to take about 10 years. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell anybody, but right now, nobody's going to be funded. Nothing's going to happen. Everything is going to be put to rest for a while until the dust settles, and I can see some constitutional lawyers come forward and say who's doing what right and who's not. But, you know, yeah, the country needs to be saved, yes. And is it constitutional for the de jure government to be set up? Yes. But there's ways to do it without scaring the hell out of everybody. You can't go in there thumping your fist at the powers to be and not expect your head to get chopped off. And, you know, there's just so many contradictions with Tim. I mean, I'm sitting here listening to all the stuff that he's doing, and, you know, I don't want to be bothered with him anymore. I really don't. I mean, I'm very, very busy in a whole nother endeavor right now where I can make a ton of money and relax the rest of my life. You know, well, what are you doing? I mean, I understand you're a wealthy man. I mean, I don't even know how you made your money or whatever. It's really none of my business. But, you know, Jerry tells me that you're an all right guy and that you're an interesting fellow, and your wife's got a great voice, and she's a very pretty gal, and they like you, and so on. I mean, how do people get mixed up in this mess? It's because we believe. We know something needs to be done, but we get hoodwinked very easily when we hear the right things or what we want to hear. And that's what Tim Turner is telling everybody, what they want to hear. But what he's doing and how he's promoting this is extremely dangerous, because he claims they've got the military support. He doesn't have any military support. They claim they've got they had an account set up that could have helped them, and they didn't do anything with it. And right now, Colonel Pangl wants nothing to do with Tim Turner. Period. They don't have any communications with the Joint Chiefs. The only Joint Chiefs they are is a bunch of Indians sitting around smoking pot. You get the Joint and the Chiefs joke, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
That's the only Joint Chiefs they know. They don't have any military intel. They don't have any intel whatsoever. And their involvement with Tom Schultz is shady. I believe they're still involved with Tom Schultz.
Well, you know, I mean, what we were told on that front, I don't know if you can confirm or not, was that Tom, when it came right down to it, was working with some Bush 43 folks, and they were in the process of setting up a military dictatorship. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what, again.
What do you think Tim's doing? What do you think Tim's doing? Tim's doing the same thing with it's just got a tie on it. That's all.
Well,
Tim used to be with FEMA.
Yeah, I understand. But I mean, when you set up a structure that is prepared to step up, you know, when you set up a Congress and you set up a court system and you set up all these infrastructural things that you need in order to have a functional government, you know, the assumption we made was that there was legitimacy to this. And you go back and your comment earlier about constitutional lawyers, I'm not sure who those guys would be. And at this point in time, I don't know if you get 5 of them in a room together and have them agree as to what the process should be. I don't know if you could. Again, I'm going back to so much disinformation, misinformation, misdirection, wrong direction. Every time somebody does something in this process, it seems there's a whole plethora of folks that get pissed off and split off and say, we ain't participating because you're doing what's wrong. And I've been
the
sitting here
thing
watching
that I'm dealing with is I'm dealing directly with a group of common law lawyers. That's what I have to go by, what has been given by the guidelines of the U.S. Supreme Court. And that's what I'm paying attention to. And, for the longest time, I really didn't even care.
Yeah.
I just really didn't even care. It wasn't even on my radar, so to speak, until I was brought forward to meet with Mr. Turner to try to help get them funded.
And of course, I got the case of stupids and couldn't figure out how to do that. I mean, that's another half an hour conversation. All right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. Every one of the resources I brought to the table is because of Tim, has pulled away and has stayed away. And what Tim and Tom had done put one of my clients' lives in jeopardy, and they're not real happy about that. And I'm trying to keep that calm and keep that settled, because I don't want them retaliating for it, because it would not be good if they wanted to retaliate. These guys are scary at best, and to me they're just a bunch of rednecks trying to act like executives. And I just heard horror stories about what went on in Utah, and that absolutely blew me away. That absolutely blew me away. They would act like that and expect people to respect them. I was stunned.
Yeah, to be honest, I was minimally involved. I mean, I provided a building that I had just purchased because I needed a place to meet. I never saw or read the documents that came out of those meetings. They left here and did not have, until yesterday, I had not had a word from any of them, feedback or response to anything. So, I mean, it sends a message to me that these guys they're just a screwed up mess. And getting to where they want to get is I just...
even Hitler called his movement spiritual.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was. Out of the proper nature.
And Tim Turner's doing just the same thing. I mean, this is not going to be an evangelical jubilee. This is not going to be a card-carrying Christian country. Okay? It's just not. Because that's pure religion and bullshit.
Well, it is, and unfortunately, there's one gentleman who seems to purport that that's what he wants to do. So, and that's...
How can one man make a decision for everybody else?
Yep.
Who the hell would want that decision?
Okay. Well,
who in God's name would want that?
All right. Well, I guess we did get a report here yesterday through law enforcement channels that there has been a bulletin put out to local law enforcement that they're to assume if they stop a vehicle that includes members of the Republic, that they're armed and dangerous, that there is an incident that occurred in which a couple of de jure grand jury members shot some officers. I don't know what's the details behind that.
That's old news. That's old stuff.
It just came out yesterday.
They tried pulling that when I met him in Houston, and that was Jerry Kane, if I'm not mistaken. And it was just total bullshit. I mean, they're starting to they're setting the field for engagement.
They being the de facto, or they being the Turner side, or both?
Nope. Tim Turner has been so sloppy in his operation, he's given them all that ammunition. They're going to use it because that is the beginning of the setup to where they can engage everybody involved in this with extreme prejudice. And when I say extreme prejudice, I mean put your hands up, pow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
So, fortunately, I have no involvement with the Republic. They tried making me an ambassador, and, well, that's all fine, great, and dandy, but I didn't need it. They just gave it to me. I didn't need it. There's nothing I could use it for because it does not exist. I don't need that to attract girls. It's not the way I do things.
Well, I guess it still goes back to the fundamental question, Richard, of what's the plan? I mean, you know, is we just going to stand on the sideline and let the government collapse and passively hope that there's something that's going to keep the place from going into anarchy?
No, I think Glenn Beck's a lot going on right now. You know, Glenn Beck is more well organized, and you know, I don't have a plan. I don't have one, and I don't know if there is one. I'm the funding connector. I'm not the planner.
In my just changing subject a little bit with you here, I really feel good about Jerry. I like Jerry. I like the folks he has with him. Any comments on that?
Well, I just would want to say do your research.
Okay.
Check him out completely.
Okay.
And I'm just saying that as a friend. You know, remember, Tim Turner made very, very large statements. Jerry's statements are even bigger. And even I have to take everything he says with a grain of salt. So, and of course, it's convenient for him that all of his files are so-called sealed and locked. And I mean, I do have some verification from some of the sovereigns as to that he is a UN-authorized bond buyer. But if you go on the internet and hit his name, you'll see that he does show up on certain lists and stuff, and he'll explain why he's on those lists. But I can't. You'd have to go to him. I'm still waiting for funding from Jerry for myself. Okay.
How long has that process been in hold or waiting for?
6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, 6 weeks I've been waiting to get money that's been promised. So I don't think Jerry's going to be the source of funding, not without strings being attached. Even though he offers, and he's got a generous heart. I mean, the guy's got a great heart, and he's got some wonderful ideas, and he's a brilliant man. He's more brilliant than any other man I've met so far, being his background. And, you know, the guy's got a great sense of humor. I mean, he's a neat guy. He's different than everybody else. If you know his history and you read about him, you'll understand that that everything about Jerry is different and special. I mean, even his blood is different than ours, because he's got twice the amount of oxygen in his blood than we do naturally. So that in itself says a lot. But, you know, even the most brilliant men in the world can sit around and make very big promises and not be able to keep them.
Okay.
So, you know, like, what people are you in support of? I mean, who's supporting you? I mean, is there
nobody.
something that started up here?
I'm sorry. Say again, Richard. I didn't get that.
Is there
time.
something that can be started up here with the Republic that could be worth funding?
Well, you know, there's. Let me ponder this for just a second. I believe the answer to the question is yes. I mean, I don't think that what transpired here in Utah is as evil as everyone seems to purport it to be. But again, I was on the very fringes of it. I wasn't involved in any of the substance or the details. Never saw the documents that came out of there. But I know that there was a bunch of representatives from Congress. Say again?
Were you at the meeting?
Technically, probably yes, but when they had the committee that was working on the documents, was not involved. I'm not a member of the House or the Senate, so they physically secured them in the building. So I didn't go in during any of the discussions, the debate, the development of the documents. I was the owner of the building, but I didn't go in. Once they convened things after Saturday night, and once they got down to the real business at hand on Sunday, no, I was not involved at all. A lot of the stuff that took place on the recruiting side and the informational side on Friday night, Saturday, I was not involved at all. I was doing other things. So the bottom line is, I could not tell you what's in the documents that are supposed to go to The Hague, because I don't know. I've never read them. I haven't seen them.
Who wrote them?
Well, I think Tim probably came up with some drafts. There was a group that met on Saturday afternoon that worked through a second pass on them, and then they presented them to the joint House and Senate committee to go through and fix them. And I think sincerely that those guys did what they thought was the best thing for them to do. I don't, there's the perception that Tim Turner was dictating all this and stuff as a dictator type personality. I don't believe that was the case, but they sought counsel. They spent a lot of time discussing some issues and items, but and I think honestly, naively, that I think there was a legitimate effort on the part of the people that came out here to do what they felt needed to be done, as requested by Tim, in a way that they felt they needed to do it. Now, I know that there is a group that are very dissatisfied with Tim. Terry Hinkle and Dave Ritzenthaler and Richard Ritzenthaler, and I know there was a group that going back to the Virginia days of when we met back in Virginia, and set up an executive committee, and then they had the rift with Tim and Regan and Tom, and they split off, and a bunch of the guys split off at that point in time and went a different way. Is that resurrectable? I just don't know. I haven't had. I've talked to Dave Ritzenthaler a couple of times. I had a brief conversation with Terry Hinkle about 2-3 weeks ago on she seemed to have some insight into the funding situation, and I had to make a decision on this building. Do I keep sitting on this thing and feeding it, or do I sell it? And
God, how much does it cost you a month to keep that thing alive?
$30,000.
Oh, dude, get your money back.
Yeah.
Get your money back. This government's not going to. This so-called government that they're trying to form is not going to have the money to seat that building. When I saw the building, I fell in love with it. Okay, I designed a security system for it in 20 minutes, and handed that off to Tim. But I could see where you're coming from here, and I can appreciate it. But if there's any bit of advice I could give you, sell the building. Get your money out of it. Get your money out of it, dude. You from my understanding, you bought that thing for a song, and you're going to make a hell of a profit. Even if you had to spend a year of keeping it alive, you're going to make a hell of a profit. But my God, it's the winter, and that place could explode if it doesn't have the heat on.
It's a gorgeous building. It's a gorgeous building, and I did buy it for $1,217, Richard. I did buy it for that price.
That's what I think you and I've talked about this before. But you know what? There's something I wanted to ask, and this is something that's been puzzling me all along. And, the statement that Tim made just recently that I'm hearing, and I try to stay on the outside of all this information because it's just too much crap. It's like it's like a bunch of bully boys that took over a sandbox. Nobody wants to play with them, so they take their toys and go to another sandbox and see if they can excite somebody by being bullied to play with them in the sandbox. It's nuts. But now I'm at the understanding that even all of the people that were thrown out, that were kicked out and abused by Tim Turner, and those whatever cronies he's got running the show, that all these names are still going to be included when they take the documentation forward to The Hague. What is the purpose in that? Can you tell me? He knows. He knows. He knows he will not return to this country if he goes to The Hague with any of that documentation, especially without any funding and no military and no support of any persons inside the de facto government and not having an ass to stand on. They'll throw him in a frickin' gulag for the rest of his days.
Yeah.
And he'll hurt everybody in this country if he goes, if he tries to do that. I'm convinced the man wants to commit suicide because he can't get anything done, and he's just continually looking like crap because he can't get anything done.
Well, I also have to. I'm sorry,
Carl,
say again, Richard.
why take everybody else down with him that he fired and got rid of and used and abused and stole their ideas and then got rid of them? You know, his method is if you don't vote the way he wants you to vote, they'll remove you and put somebody in there that's a yes man. What the hell do you think we got now? We have a bigger, more funded version of that right now running this country that still don't listen to the people.
Well, yeah, I mean, even as of 3 days ago, they still don't listen. Yeah.
Well, you want to know what my thoughts are? Let me give it to you in short. I believe that Tim Turner and Tom Schultz still have an agreement together. And their job, and this is what it's looking like. I'm just putting a puzzle together here. But I go out and look for the pieces first. Tim's job was FEMA and Homeland Security. I believe that they are going to use this scenario to try to put as many people in those FEMA detention centers and retention centers as they can. And therefore, if he goes to The Hague with this, it could create a scenario of martial law in the United States that would take out the Tea Party, it would take out the Christian movement, it would take hundreds of thousands of patriots that have all been tagged and earmarked by these administrations, being all ex-military, into concentration camps. And I believe he was the one who was to head up that entire program.
That would be an interesting scenario, wouldn't it? Well, you know, a friend of mine told me yesterday that President Obama made a statement that there's two classes of people in this country: those that support the government and those that are traitors.
There you go. They're setting the path. That's part of the puzzle. They're setting the path to justify what they're going to do. And Tim Turner is handing everybody to them on a platter, giving them names, addresses, and phone numbers and email. Don't think everybody hasn't been watched. The FBI said they've been watching everybody continuously since this started.
Yep. I have no doubt about that. And they've been out down here interviewing my friends here. They haven't come to talk to me yet. I'm disappointed in that. I wish they would. Maybe I need to go talk to them. But anyways.
They never talk to people they're investigating until after they're done investigating them.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
all right.
Be cautious. Be careful. And I don't want Jerry involved in trying to fund a dead dream, because that's just going to get Jerry in trouble. He doesn't need it.
Okay. Well, you know, again,
involvement.
Again, it's I'm sitting here now, and I'm gonna when after I hang up with you, I'm gonna go, okay, so what do you do now, guys? What do you do now? You just go and irregardless, you prepare yourself and your family and your immediate neighbors and your friends and others for what you need to be preparing for. But at the macro level, at the national level, you just watch this whole house of cards collapse, financial house of cards collapse, and anarchy reign.
Did you know that the Lee family doesn't even know that Tim Turner? I mean, they're just finding out that Tim Turner's using their name as funding a so-called treasonous government. What do you think these people are going to do? I mean, where is he coming up with this stuff? Why? Why doesn't he just go away?
I suspect it's because he has this Jesus as his intel guy, and Jesus is has his ears and his eyes and his ears, and he has his confidence, and I think he just carte blanche seems to want to ride that horse across the desert and die.
But Jesus' ears and eyes don't connect to anything.
Well, the only thing I can assume, Richard, is that Tim doesn't believe that. I don't know why else he would be doing the things he's been doing and have the inner circle consisting of the guys that he has in his inner circle. It's just not made any sense to me. I mean,
but how can they go? What I don't understand is even men of common sense, even men with half a brain, can't and won't jump from lie to lie to lie, knowing that they're lying. Okay, he knows he's lying. He knows it because I called his ass on the carpet. You don't circumvent me and go to my clients and try to use my clients. They will shut you down faster than the government will, and they're permanent. There's no going to jail.
Yeah, they don't. Why would we waste the money incarcerating this guy?
Correct. They endangered one of my clients' families, and he's Hispanic, and they endangered his family. And I'm dealing with a scenario right now that bonds that we're dealing with from a family. Their son was kidnapped because they found out they were selling some of their bonds on the open market. Their son was kidnapped, and they wouldn't give up a quadrillion-dollar bond for the return of their son. They shot the kid in the head. They chopped his body up into at least 25 pieces, stuck it in a box, and sent it home to his father. That's how sick the Mexicans.
How old was the boy?
Mid-20s. Just getting a life. He'd been protected his whole life because they're a very wealthy family and they had bodyguards. But the cartels grabbed him. What makes these guys think they can play with people's lives and expect to just get away with it? And what makes them think they can tell lies to common folk in America? Don't you think these people can tell through these lies? What makes them think that if they sign Tim Turner's piece of paper, that the Chinese won't invade this country, when the Chinese have no intention of invading this country? They do not need to. The Russians aren't going to invade us. Their tactical strategies for the United States has been nuclear ever since the Cold War. Every strategy is nuclear. It's not simple. You cannot attack a country like this where everybody is armed and has a right to carry weapons. You mentioned Terry Hinkle. What do you think about her? Because I've talked to her a couple times. I thought she was Janis Joplin's mother at first.
I've never met her physically, as far as I know. As far as I recall, I did go to a couple of Tim Turner seminars in the South, and there were a lot of people there, most of whom I don't remember. One of those was in Atlanta, so she could have been there. I just don't know. But I understand that I am not on the inner circle of this group by any stretch of imagination, and I'm not privy to a lot that's been going on. So right now I get no email correspondence from just about anybody at this point in time. But I did get some emails forwarded to me where Terry was in her role as the Chief Justice for Georgia, challenging.
I hear she's pretty sharp.
Well,
as far as Constitution, I understand she is really sharp. I mean, I've heard some things that she has said, and but I really don't have time for all this kind of stuff. Ever since Tim Turner, I just felt all a bunch of nonsense. These people are all going to go to jail. And after my sit-down interview on the phone and on the internet with the FBI today, I mean, I had to turn over documents to them, and it's getting crazier. I just need to free myself. I need to be far away from it.
Yeah.
I need to be far away from anything that Tim Turner had to do, say, or whatever. And him and his cronies that he had, and this guy Jesus, oh my God, if Tim knew about him, he wouldn't have anything to do with him. But I don't know, maybe Tim would. I don't know. I don't know the man. I don't know the man as much as I thought I knew the man.
Well,
and my friend Aaron, I feel sorry for Aaron because he's stuck in the middle of this mess. And I certainly hope he's not deeply involved in it. Because the sad part is that going to lose the most here is him. I'm
going back to your question.
Concerned.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said I'm deeply concerned for him. He was one of my dear friends. He's a good Christian man with a good heart. And his wife is a good person. And I'm so sad that he's just so hung into this thing.
Going back to your question on Terry Hinkle, just a couple of quick comments. I did, the first formal thing I saw from her was when she challenged the election protocols they were following, and I said, yep, you're right, Terry. How can you have an election where you don't have paper ballots and verifiable results? I attempted to get these guys to fix that, and they wouldn't. Tim didn't think it was important, therefore it didn't happen. Then when I saw the email that she had some contacts on the funding side, the financial side, I said, you know what, I've got to make a decision on this building. These guys have not performed. We started talking terms on this lease back in May, June time frame, and they haven't come through with anything. And I'm feeding it. I said, I just cannot keep believing on this property. And so, I had to find out from somebody that had some outside insight as to what was going on. And so I called her and chatted with her, and that's when I called you a couple of weeks ago, as I said earlier. Because, are these guys going to get their funding? If not, then I got to sell this building. I just can't keep sitting on this thing.
Absolutely. You're feeding a baby that just poops in the diapers.
Yep.
It's a gorgeous building, and I'm sure you can get a hefty profit for it.
Well, I've got a $1.4 million offer right now, so I just need to close the deal and get on with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Richard, now before you go, give me a minute or two on what is it that you do. And
what is it that I do?
Yeah. What do you do professionally?
Well, professionally, I'm a commodities broker. I'm an artist. I'm a world-class sculptor. But lately, I've been a commodities broker, and I handle the transactions for gold, and I handle transactions for bonds because I know buyers, and I just put deals together. That's all.
I may call you back. When we talked with Jerry, I briefed him.
I'm actually more than I'm actually more than just a broker. I use that term lightly. I facilitate deals. I don't broker them. I facilitate them. Otherwise, I know who's who and what's what, and I vet everybody out, and then I bring the two together at the table, and then get the lawyers to handle everything. So I'm beyond what you would call the so-called standardized broker.
Okay.
I strategically go at deals because I know all the clientele. People call
When
me and tell me what they're looking for. I fit them too.
Say, I interrupted you again. And I'm on a half duplex line here, so if I talk, you talk. I can't hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a commodities facilitator.
Okay.
I work with some of the wealthy people in the world and help them get what they want. When they need something, they call me and say, "Can you find this?" I find it.
Okay. When I met with Jerry and Barbara and Alex the other day with Gwen and I, one of the things in my briefing package was I wanted to set up a trading center here to train folks to do intraday trading and so forth, and thought that would be very profitable. Jerry said, "Why would you want to do that? That's work." And then we started talking about some of the bonds that he's buying and purporting to buy and so forth. Mexican silver bonds, gold bonds, things of this nature. Legitimate?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I got 9 of the most powerful bonds in the world right now, quietly and privately. And I've taken an hour out of my day to communicate with you when I got lawyers trying to reach me so I can close these bonds.
Okay.
So if there's...
All right. Well, I will let you get back to your work. I am grateful and appreciative you're taking time to help me out here.
Something came to my mind, and I want to ask you something, because I made some notes out here to talk to you. Tim talks about the gold in the Philippines. He hasn't been to the Philippines, has he?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, because I know that my client wouldn't let him near the gold. And he talks about having the allodial title to the U.S. Have you seen that?
No.
Have you seen this document he calls the allodial title to the U.S.?
No. Nope.
The reason I ask is because he's claiming to have it, and I know where all 3 of them are. There's 3 of them. There's not just one.
Yeah, I mean, again, part of my frustration in questioning the legitimacy of things is, quote, I am, his Secretary of State appointee, and I have not had one iota of activity in response to that assignment delegated to me. I have not had one contact with any foreign person. I have not been involved in any of the, quote, treaty negotiations and discussions that he is claimed to be involved in.
Don't you think you should have?
You think?
Yeah. I mean, does Tim have any proof of anything that he's saying? Have you seen anything?
Bottom line, no.
Yeah.
Bottom line, no.
I didn't think so. God, this guy's dangerous. You know what I would recommend? I'd recommend you sit down and you write him a formal letter renouncing yourself from the Republic. Have it notarized. Have a copy of it notarized. Actually, you make 3 copies. Have all 3 notarized. You send 1 copy to him with a registered mail, return receipt requested. 2 different types of certification. Certified and registered mail with a return receipt requested. Send it to his wife and him so that he's not there at the house. She has to sign for it. Then you take the other copy and you take the copy of your certification and you put it on that certification. And you make a copy of that. And you have that notarized that you have that certification on there. Or just put the certification on there and make a copy of it. And you make sure that gets into the hands of the FBI. That's the only redeeming point you may have here.
Okay.
Because the FBI is going after Tim. He's just committed a serious act of treason, and he's attacking the de facto government and making claims that they can now put his ass away with. And let me put it to you this way. I wouldn't stand next to him if I was in public.
Well, I just drove him cross country about 2 weeks through. Well, he came out here the 13th, 14th of last month. I was one that drove him cross country to come out to the Utah meeting, so I was with him for almost 9-10 days. So, anywho, all right. Well, I appreciate that, Richard, and we'll take action on it, get it done.
Well, as far as I know, you and I have no grievances, do we?
No.
I have no ill feelings. I have nothing. I have nothing bad. I have everything but good to say. So, I just get yourself free from this man, and I'd sell that building and have yourself a nice Christmas.
Okay. We'll take action on it.
I admire you, guy. I admire you. That's a real estate deal of real estate deals. I have to tell you. I laughed when you tell me how much you paid for the building. What a coup!
Well, we can go find some more. If you got some clients that need to find some property, I can probably help you find some stuff.
Well, there you go. So.
Okay. All right, Richard. Thank you very much. I'll let you get back because I know you got a lot of important stuff to do, and I appreciate you so much for taking the time.
I appreciate it, and Carl, I do appreciate talking to you. And if you see Tim, give him my best. Because I feel sorry for the man. I mean, because he needs to be in a rubber room. These guys are beyond any kind of help.
Yeah. Now, physically, where are you located?
I'm in Florida, in Orlando.
In Orlando area? Okay. Well, if I happen to get down that way, we'll see if we can sit down and have a dinner or lunch or something sometime.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So,
all right, Rich.
Man, my hat's off to you. I'm sorry to hear, that you've been having to pay for that building and didn't know what to do with it. My God, I wished I'd have told you a long time ago that there was nobody going to step forward and fund him because they can't prove anything that he says. Everything he says is unprovable, and they do not have the support of who they say they have the support, because the people that I deal with have that support. They know the people. They can communicate. They can pick up the phone and call Joint Chiefs. They can pick up the phone and talk to anybody they want to talk to, But it looks like all of us need to go to the store and have a Bush 41 T-shirt fan club made, because everybody gets accused of being somebody they're not.
Yeah, that's the latest one.
It's sad. It's sad at best. But you keep your eye on that Jesus. He's a scary little shit.
Okay.
He's
all right.
Scary.
We will do that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure
talking with you.
You bet. We'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
All right.